Not the other word. Okay. So, Saxchick, and also known as that girl that plays the saxophone. And so, I grew up in the Rockford area, and I kind of prepared a little speech that I kind of want to share my story with you all. And so, I'm a professional full-time musician and plus model. So, thank you for having me, and you all look absolutely wonderful. And I'm so happy to see all of you. What schools are we at? Who's at Auburn? East? Jefferson? Guilford?
Roosevelt.
I feel bad. Okay. Okay, Roosevelt. Okay, represent. Okay.
What y'all trying to say about East kids?
All right.
Oh, okay.
So is it okay if I go ahead and start?
Oh, okay. Okay.
Is it cool if I go ahead and start?
But you will get up.
Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and start.
And they gotta clean for it.
But I want you to hear this. So I want you to hear this because this is from the heart here. Okay. So introduction again. My name is Amani Avery. I grew up the only child in a 2-parent household on the lower east and south side of Rockford. How many of y'all from the south side? South side? Okay. Where I currently reside. I went to Risa Middle School and then Auburn High School. During my time in school, I can recall being made fun of from the day I started kindergarten until the day I graduated high school. At first, it was because of my size. I was larger than the other girls in my class, so I was subjected to being called names such as fat girl and fatty and things like that, and an array of other derogatory terms, okay? Then high school came, and I no longer was the only big girl. However, I was one of the only girls with natural hair. I see some of my natural girls represent. Okay, so I was one of the only girls with natural hair. And so, high school came, and I was one of the only girls with natural hair. I didn't have no perm. I didn't have no weave. I was just natural. And that caused an uproar. I can recall being in U.S. history class, and I literally the whole class one day decided to partake in a bullying session. And my natural hair and my long sideburns was the main subject. It was one of the most horrific experiences I've ever had. After that day, I did not go back to that history class, and I transferred to a different class. Throughout my middle and high school careers, there was one constant thing that I held on to that helped me get through every day, and that was music. I became a saxophone player by mishap. I walked into band class at Risa Middle School in August of 2000, a long time ago, and the band director asked me what instrument I wanted to play. And I didn't know the name of any other instrument except for saxophone, so I just said saxophone. Since then, my saxophone and I have been inseparable. What I loved about being in the band was that it didn't matter what you looked like, how long your hair was, or how thin I was. The only thing that mattered was my ability to play, and I played well. Let's fast forward to the end of high school. I had never dated anyone. My so-called best friends had moved on to other people. Everyone else had driver's license and cars and stuff, and I was still being dropped off by my mom. She actually dropped me off at prom and picked me up. And my father, and I was also a band geek, quote unquote. Not only I hadn't been accepted into any of the colleges that I had applied to. So I was an emotional wreck. I was really sad. However, I enrolled in Rock Valley Community College. Things began to fall into place a little better. I met my then best friend. I got a car, and I was still at the top of my game playing saxophone in the Rock Valley band. I had even started my own band. After a few years at RVC, I didn't want to stay for as long as I did. I stayed there for 3 years. Normally people stay there for 2. I ended up starting at Bradley University in Peoria. And it kind of worked out perfectly because I had always wanted to go to Italy. And that year that I started, the band was actually going on a European tour in Italy. So the timing worked out perfectly. So I was accepted into Bradley as a music major, where I started off as music education. Music education was really hard. It was a lot of work. I remember having a meeting with my advisor, and I wanted to drop the education part and just do music. And he asked me what I wanted to do with my life, and I said, I don't know. The whole time I knew, I just didn't want to tell him. So he said to me, do you want to work at Kmart? I found that insulting because I told him, no, I want to be like I want to be like the next Oprah. And he said, Drake, you'll make a lot of money and donate to our music department so we can get a new building. He was being sarcastic, obviously. But he spoke that over my life, though, even though it was sarcasm. Keep that in mind. Before leaving his office, I was basically told that without the education aspect to my music degree, that it would be terribly hard for me to find a job, let alone teaching. About 6 months after I graduated, I was sitting at my uncle's funeral in Chicago, and I got a Facebook message from the principal at a local charter school, who said she had a music position open. If I wanted it, it was mine. So I was excited. It was my first job out of college. I went from getting a $40 allowance a week from my parents to getting $40,000 a year. About 2 months into my new job and salary, I got a phone call from an unfamiliar number, of course, and it was Human Resources, and the cold voice on the other end told me that because I didn't have my teaching certificate, that my job would end, and I would be made into a regular sub at the school I was working at and not get paid for extended holiday breaks. This was maddening because I knew that I was a good teacher and a role model. And I also knew that I wasn't the only person who worked at that school who didn't have certification. In fact, there were individuals there in positions of leadership who didn't even have a formal college education like I did. As a result, I saved every penny that I earned, and I had over $10,000 saved in the bank. I also ended up getting hired at another charter school the following year, and as a result of that, I was able to purchase my first home. Throughout my story, the one thing I always did was stay true to myself. I didn't try to change myself to fit into anyone else's ideology. Even though I was made fun of for being larger, I didn't go and try to lose a bunch of weight, and now I'm a plus model. I didn't perm my hair, and I have women who come up to me saying how amazing my hair is and how great it is that I'm natural. And I stuck to being that band geek because now I'm performing all over the world at Saxchick. My message to you ladies and gentlemen is that I would like for you to be yourself, stay true to yourself, be who you want to be, and pay no attention to what other people have to say about you, because they will always have an opinion. Unfair situations will arise in your life and that you have no control over. However, you do have control over how you react to them. And my suggestion to you is that you react quietly and patiently. I'd like to share with you Don Miguel Ruiz's, it's called the 4 Agreements to always remember. Repeat after me, the 4 agreements. Number 1, be impeccable with your word, which means do what you say you are going to do. Number 2, don't take anything personally. Whatever somebody does to you, it has nothing to do with you, it has to do with them. Don't take it personally. Don't make assumptions. That's number 3. Never make assumptions. Always ask questions and get the answer, no matter how hard it is to ask or receive. Do you get that? Good. Number 4, always do your best, because when you do your best, people notice, and that puts you at the top of your game. I'd also like to share with you some of my own quotes. I have about 10 of them, so listen. Number 1, don't allow others to speak negativity over your life, because what you speak out into existence, it happens. Don't allow anyone to speak anything negative over your life. There are people, number 2, there are people in your life who will not be able to take the journey with you. Let them go in peace. You cannot bring your best friend and cousin and this on the journey with you all the time, because they don't want the same things for you as you want for yourself. Number 3, everything happens for a reason. Number 4, trust the process. Whatever it is, trust it. Number 5, you may get lost on the path you're walking. You will have to take detours to get to your destination, but you'll always arrive right on time to where you are supposed to be. Number 6, don't compare yourself to others. We all have different journeys. Not everyone who says they are your friend is your friend. Some people are only along for the ride in the limo and not the bus. I'm going to repeat that. Number 7, not everyone who says they are your friend is your friend. Some people are only along for the ride in the limo and not the bus. Do you get that? Yes. I want you to get that, okay? Remember that. Number 8, take risk. Number 9, don't be afraid to say no. No is a complete sentence. It is a complete sentence. Don't be afraid to say no. Matter of fact, all y'all say it right now.
No.
There you go.
Okay.
And number 10, which should be at the top, is put yourself first. Because if your cup is not full, you can't fill up anybody else's cup. Did you get that? All right, to close out my little speech, I'd like to leave you with the poem by William Ernest Henley entitled Invictus. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud under my bludgeoning goings of chance. My head is bloody but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how straight the gate, how charged with punishments the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. I'm going to repeat that last line. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Say that with me. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul. Thank you. I'm going to play a song. Thank you so much.
End it or keep going?
Thank you. Anybody have any questions?
After that, you want to know what song this is?
That song was called Summertime.
Did you used to work at Jackson?
I did. I remember you. I had you when you were in 4th grade.
What kind of sax do you have?
This is an alto saxophone.
She would come get his phone.
Yep. Anybody?